I'm Chris, and this incident occurred when I used to drive Uber as an occupation. Initially, I thought driving a car for a living would be a fun option, and not like I planned to remain a driver forever, but maybe till the time I don't find a more suitable job. I have from teenage been a confident driver, and so this job seemed perfect for me. But not long after joining, did I start getting bored of driving throughout the city, all day long. Now, throughout the several months in this job, I have few of the times encountered a fair share of weird passengers, but none quite terrified me the way that was to come. So it was a cold night, and I was driving towards the direction of who was supposed to be my last passenger for the day. I had reached quite the outskirts of the city, a place I don't often get the request to pick up. It was 8:30 p.m. I won't usually work this late, but she made a special request, so I couldn't deny. As expected, the roads were empty. That didn't matter. I just wanted to go home quick. I reached the location pointed in the GPS, and there I saw this lady who stood alone. Now that place was totally empty, so I thought to myself, she wasn't all safe walking to her destination from here, this late at night, so definitely I did the right thing to pick her up. She started to walk towards me, and that's when her face became visible to me. She seemed young, maybe at her 20s, wearing a pink shirt. You know, the one worn at office. So as she entered, as a comforting gesture, I asked, "Late from office, huh?" But she didn't reply to my words. Instead she, with worry on her face, said,
"Sir, it's an emergency. We gotta reach quick."
I was caught off guard with this, and continued to awkwardly stare at her for a long 2 seconds. Then I started driving to her desired location, which by the way was further away. Also, she sat right next to my seat, despite of all the back seats being empty. Not that something's wrong with it, but I found it a bit unusual and a bit uncomfortable. There persisted this awkward silence. To cut it off, I asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, can I know what happened and what's the emergency?" As soon as I completed asking, she looked down, rolling her eyes, and stayed quiet for a few seconds. In my head, I was pleading for her to say something, because if she did not reply to me for the second time, it would only get 10 times more awkward for me. After maybe 7-8 seconds, she replied. In hindsight, it seems like she was trying to come up with a reason for why she said it's an emergency. She replied,
It's my child. He fell from the stairs and called me for help."
Before my brain could even process what she just said, my mouth automatically spoke out. "Child? But you don't look that old." Not the best thing to say, I know. It happened automatically, as I said. But instead of getting offended or something, she just got more nervous and said,
"Oh, I'm sorry. I meant my younger brother. He fell from the stairs."
I immediately felt she was lying. Brother to street child? Now that's not something you just make a mistake in. But I stopped bothering and kept driving silently. By now we have reached a distance that I don't recall ever visiting before. No signs of civilization. Heck, it didn't even have a proper road, only a paved path, surrounded by long, dense trees. We were now very far from the main city. I was happy to finally leave for my home. But exactly then, I got another request for a ride. I thought, what the hell? How they expect me to be working still so late at night? I was obviously planning to deny the request. But then I checked the location from where the new passenger wanted to be picked, and I was shocked to see the location was very near to the location that I was driving this lady to. I remained in a bit of shock and even rechecked if it were a mistake, cause that coincidence seemed too much to be true. I texted him, and what are the odds? He was in an emergency too. The passenger seemed legit, He offered extra payment, and I agreed. I had to go to the opposite direction anyways, so why not, I thought to myself. We reached my current passenger's location. It was a house in middle of nowhere. The house itself seemed to have not been maintained well. She walked out, paid me and thanked me, and meanwhile, my new passenger texted me to remain where I was. Basically where I left her, as it was close to where he was standing, and that he'd be coming to me instead, cause apparently if I drove any deeper, I'd have difficulty turning around. That seemed like a good move by him. Not many passengers would be that generous. I waited for him, while the lady long back had entered her house. I was thinking about the kind of day I was having today, and how that man is taking too long to reach me. And also thought about the lady's supposed brother or child who fall off the stairs, and if they needed any help. Now, I was moments away from texting where the man was, when all of a sudden, the previous lady ran out of her house, at me, and asked for help to pick her brother up, or whatever that meant. But also, how did she know that I haven't left yet, and was instead waiting for another passenger? I should have seen it as a red flag. Sir, please, I need your help. It's an emergency. Oh, emergency again, goddammit. I hate that word now, I thought to myself. I did not know what I was thinking, but I quickly jumped off my car and in the direction to her house. I meanwhile quickly took the decision to call my new passenger to explain the situation. That's when I heard it. A phone rang simultaneously as soon as I called the man. I immediately took a pause. In 3 seconds, the ringing stopped, and so did my call. Who ended the call if the lady was still at my side, and why it rang precisely when I called my new passenger? It was at that moment when it all clicked in my head. The hair on the back of my neck stood up as I thought of the possibility of something going wrong. It might seem like I must have immediately taken my steps back to my car, but actually, I was just standing there in pure shock and disbelief that something like this could ever happen to me. And then what followed haunts me to this day. That lady, that same lady, gave a loud and manly shout saying, "That's that bastard." And as she said so, 2 men ran out of the direction from where I heard the ringing. They both were armed with what seemed like baseball bat, with nails sticking out of them. The 3 sprinted at me, and that's when my senses came back. And I quickly turned at my car and ran towards it, and I was so shocked that I was unknowingly holding my lips tight and didn't emit any sound. And very luckily, I did not lock my car and got in. And as soon as I did, I heard what sounded like a kidney-crushing gunfire. But at that point, it didn't seem that far-fetched anymore, and I gave no reaction. Instead, quickly started my car and drove in the maximum speed. For 10 brief seconds, I saw in my rear view mirror the 2 men trying to chase me on foot before I outran them. I thought of nothing more and drove to the police station and almost cried in front of the officer present there. They tried to calm me down and I explained them everything. They decided to quickly leave to that location, while one more person pointed out a bullet hole just slightly above the back left wheel of my car. When I saw that, my heart almost stopped. It was indeed a gunfire that I heard, maybe from a 4th person, or maybe that same lady who must have tried to puncture my tire while I tried to escape, but missed just for a bit. And right then, I was reminded of the most disturbing thing of all that I forgot to mention before they left to investigate. That is of the unsettling moment when I heard that same lady shout in that unmistakably a man's voice. Unfortunately, by the time the police reached there, those people had very expectedly already left the scene. But upon further investigation, the police found bloodstains all over the house, alongside many weapons, further proving my story to be true. After 2 more weeks, I left that job, found a new one. To this day, chills run down my spine when I think of how close I came that night to maybe my very death, and if that lady was even a lady.